I've always been a big fan of art. Paintings, music, literature, the whole shebang. I just love the history, especially when it comes to famous statues and sculptures. There's Christ the Redeemer in Brazil, the Thinker in Paris, and we can't forget about the Sphinx in Egypt. I'm a cat guy, sorry. Those things have been standing for centuries, but lately, art seems to be taking a nosedive. I mean, have you seen some of this crap lately? Two recent, I guess you could say, art pieces that come to mind are the statues of Dwayne Wade and Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, seriously, look at these things. It just seems like all of our art is trending backwards. It's like they got a toddler to chisel those things out. Now, I'm not saying that I could do any better. I'm just saying that these sculptures look like something I whipped up in a high school ceramics class. Hey guys, this is Jared with History Bits, the channel that wants to make art, not war. In this video, we're going to talk about one of the most famous monuments that's ever been created. The Statue of Liberty. Yeah, that beauty. But did you know that it was actually a gift? And nobody really cared about it when it was given to us. Pretty crazy, huh? So stay tuned because these historical nuggets could come in handy on your next date night in New York City. Forget flowers. Hit them with some random facts about a statue. Guaranteed to work every time. I've always been prolific with the ladies. So let's jump right in. The Statue of Liberty stands proudly on Liberty Island in New York Harbor. It's a beacon of hope, freedom, and a constant reminder to tourists to be as annoying as possible and make sure to bring the selfie stick to get the best photo possible. While most people are familiar with its symbolic meaning and how big it is, pretty damn big, few know the fascinating backstory behind how this massive gift came from France to the United States. The Statue of Liberty isn't just a giant lady holding a torch. It's a symbol of international friendship, shared ideals, and a subtle reminder that we can design massive sculptures to show off how much we love democracy. The idea for the statue was born in the late 1860s, thanks to a French political thinker named Edouard René de la Boule, who was pretty much like, hey, let's give the Americans a present we know that they can't resist. It's basically like giving your friend a big bag of fries from Five Guys without a drink to wash it down. And it's like, thanks, but what the hell am I supposed to do with this? La Boule, a huge fan of American ideals, came up with the idea for the statue to celebrate the US centennial in 1876. So, naturally, he handed over the task of designing this colossal symbol to French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, a man with a talent for making really large things. I'm sorry guys, my French accent is complete ass, but bear with me. I gotta be authentic for the sake of the video. An engineer named Eugene Ledoux was also commissioned on this project, but he wasn't really around that long. Bartholdi's first version of this statue was inspired by Libertas, the Roman goddess of freedom. And his mother was actually the inspiration for the statue's face. It's kinda hot. He pictured a colossal woman with a torch in her right hand, lighting the way to freedom, and holding a tablet in her left hand with the Declaration of Independence date on it. July 4th, 1776. For those of you that aren't history fans, that's when the US decided to kind of do its own thing. But here's the fun part. Bartholdi didn't originally plan to even put this statue in New York. His first idea was to build it as a lighthouse at the entrance of the Suez Canal in Egypt. Shout out to Luann de Lesseps. Any of you Real Housewives fans will know. It's a deep cut, but if you know, you know. But when the Egyptians said, nah, we're good, thanks, Bartholdi thought, alright, I guess I'll ask the new kid on the block. The United States. And thus, Lady Liberty was born. So the next time you see the Statue of Liberty, just remember, she's not just an icon of freedom. She's also the backup plan for some French guy. The Statue of Liberty's creation was a monumental task, literally. The thing wasn't just built, it was assembled with the combined efforts of French and American citizens, like some giant historical IKEA project. The statue was to be a gift from the people of France, while the pedestal was going to be funded by the Americans. So it was a gift, but we still had to pay for some of it. Work on the statue began in 1875, with Bartholdi overseeing the sculpting in France. The statue itself was made from copper sheets, which were shaped into panels and then riveted together over a steel framework. Basically, they just built the Statue of Liberty like a giant steel jigsaw puzzle. And just like any other massive project, they needed to make sure it could survive all kinds of weather: wind, rain, and salt water. It had to be durable, but also flexible. After the original engineer, Eugène Viollet-le-Duc, kicked the bucket in 1878, Bartholdi called in Gustave Eiffel to help with the internal framework. Yep, the guy that made this. Eiffel's design allowed the tower to sway a little bit when wind hit it. They had to be very methodical in the construction because they didn't want this to be a titanic waste of money. But to show off a piece of the statue, they first sent the torch to Philadelphia, and then eventually New York City, where it was placed in Madison Square Park. It looks so random, just a giant torch sitting there in the middle of a park. And while the French were making the giant lady, the Americans were trying to figure out how to build a pedestal worthy of her. And that's what's crazy. At first, there was fundraisers and banquets, but nobody really cared. Nobody wanted to donate money to some giant statue that was coming from France. Despite public outcry on both sides of the Atlantic, donations in the US were just a little underwhelming. The statue was finished. It was just kind of collecting dust, and the French were waiting for the Americans to pull their weight. Then, in 1885, the publisher of the New York World, Joseph Pulitzer, stepped in. He launched a fundraising campaign saying no donation is too small. He also challenged the stuffy aristocrats of New York to fork over some cash so that the statue could be a mainstay in the Big Apple. His appeal worked like a charm. Suddenly, rich and poor citizens were sending in money as if it grew on trees. Thanks to Pulitzer, the pedestal was finished, and Lady Liberty finally had a home in the harbor. Once the Statue of Liberty was completed in France in 1884, it was disassembled and shipped off to the United States. It arrived in New York Harbor in June 1885, packed neatly into 214 crates. My God, I hope they labeled those crates. Reassembly was no small feat. But who doesn't love a huge puzzle? The crazy thing is, it took about 4 months to whip Lady Liberty back into shape. 4 months? Wow. What are the odds that if we did that today in 2024, that we could do it again in 4 months? I'm saying like 0% chance. Workers carefully fitted each piece together. And who was overseeing this whole thing? None other than Frédéric Bartholdi, French sculptor extraordinaire. He made the trip to New York to supervise the final stages of installation. Probably wearing a beret, nibbling a baguette, shaking his head in disgust every time someone put a piece in the wrong spot. Finally, on October 28, 1886, the Statue of Liberty was officially dedicated in a grand ceremony attended by thousands, including President Grover Cleveland. It was the perfect way to celebrate the success of this giant international collaboration. The Statue of Liberty quickly became a symbol of hope, freedom, and a reminder to immigrants that they'd made it. And this is really what greeted many immigrants when they showed up from, particularly at this time, southern Italy and Eastern Europe. They were overtaken with emotion. Many began to cry as they entered the harbor and saw the Statue of Liberty because they knew that at this point, their lives would have changed forever. And throughout the 20th century, the statue's significance continued to grow. It was officially designated as a national monument in 1924 and got a nice makeover in the 1980s in preparations for its big centennial party in 1986. Now, I missed the last one in 1986 because I'm a 90s kid, but I'm holding out hope that I'll be able to be there for the next one. As part of the National Park Service, Liberty Island attracts millions of visitors each year, all of whom are dying to take a selfie with her. In 1984, the Statue of Liberty was even designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It remains one of the most visited and recognized monuments globally. The Statue of Liberty stands as a reminder of the friendship between France and the United States. They might get a little annoyed of us, Americans. We're loud, we're obnoxious, we wear fanny packs everywhere. But we're old pals, and there's definitely still love there. It's kind of like the ultimate friendship bracelet, but on a much, much bigger scale. It's not just a statue, though. It's a giant copper symbol of hope, a literal torchbearer for immigrants, and a big, metallic "Welcome to America" sign. Building the statue was a monumental achievement, requiring vision, dedication, and a lot of teamwork across the Atlantic. The gift from France wasn't just a giant sculpture. It was a heartfelt message that liberty and democracy should be a universal right. So yeah, now you know about that hot chick in the green dress.